Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this coverage of Weekend Wage to bring you a Terran versus Terran match. And more importantly, breaking news, HitEmUp has returned. Also, I have returned. This is the first cast that I'll be recording from my new apartment, my new place. So, have a good time. GG's, GLHFs. But, yeah, we can see here, Newt is, first time meeting a legend, first time meeting the reigning champion of Cosmonarchy's premier event, Acropolis. Acropolis number 3 champion HitEmUp is now facing off against Newt, one of our hottest Terrans currently. Shout out to him. He is in the top right as our light olive Terran, and going for a Fulcrum opener. HitEmUp, on the other hand, is going to be, well, also going for a Fulcrum opener just a little bit later in the day. And he is our Electric Blue Terran. There you go. All right. Color guesses confirmed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Magnetron, a port of Tokamak from Starcraft 2, coming at you with some Cosmonarchy ports there. This is a map that I myself ported. I'm interested. I'm cautiously optimistic that the layout could actually be pretty interesting, but we'll see how it goes. By the way, with all that said, I should mention that HitEmUp posted this map, and he was just looking for a map that didn't have Shambler attached to it, which was a funny comment to make. So we'll see. We'll see if maybe we can get HitEmUp on a Shambler map just disguised or something. You know what I mean? But yes, it is. It is indeed in our testing class. That's what Class 0 is. So it's going to be a 2-Fulc starter here for both players at around the same time in terms of when the second Fulcrum will come on. Actually, ironically, Newt's Fulcrum is much faster, so this Mason is dead to rights. But the second Fulcrum is a little bit faster for HitEmUp, so you can see already perhaps HitEmUp just getting his feelings back. He did say, "Go easy on me. It was my first game back after a while." You know how it is, but no, I never go easy on HitEmUp. HitEmUp is he should win every game he plays. 3-0 every best of 5, 4-0 every best of 7. Really, nobody should ever be able to play anything against him at all, unless they're a Starcraft 1 pro, in which case they should be able to take one game and then lose. Newt has pocketed his Mason at 9 o'clock. Very interesting stuff there. Also, one of the things that I'm interested in seeing is, like, okay, HitEmUp has lost his first Mason, so he immediately goes for a more defensive play. And how soon does he expand? How soon does Newt expand? Does Newt remember who he is? He's actually avoiding getting any Vespene gas here, instead gunning for something a little bit cheekier, but there is a lot of Vulture construction happening over here while HitEmUp is already ready to drop his Ministry. Meanwhile, we've got a Watchdog being assembled on the far side, at the 9 o'clock position, actually, and the Ministry will come online here for Newt. But interesting that HitEmUp still managed to squeeze his out early. He laid the defensive minefield, and he made less Vultures than his opponent, which is something that is an interesting choice. Now we've got a Scrapyard coming as well during this economic downtime. This is a little bit greedy, perhaps, but it's TVT. You got the minefield. You're not terribly worried about something that's going to very quickly clear this minefield and kill your Vultures. So you do have a little bit of time to operate here, but it might be a little bit of a risk. We'll see. One Cyclops is being made. Are you going to kill your Watchdog float with that? I mean, probably not. Third Fulcrum on the way. Is this worth making a Goliath? Well, the answer is no, because he's got Scrapyard already, so you can just make Blackjacks. But the Cyclops has friendly splash damage around it, so it's a little bit more bothersome for HitEmUp to clear this Watchdog away. We're going to see the Mason, for example, take a little bit of damage there when it was at that top right corner. It looks like eventually, actually, the Watchdog will end up offering itself up here. No mines are going to be detected by that. Of course, the Watchdog isn't a detector in Cosmonarchy, but it definitely wouldn't be when lifting off anyway. The detector structures are actually only detectors when landed. Now, here we go. We have the first couple of mine detonations coming in here in favor of HitEmUp. A little bit bold for him to step out that way, by the way. The Blackjacks have started up. One of them did get revealed there for just a split second. We'll see if Newt still wants to go for it. Actually, the mines are somehow stunning HitEmUp's units and not Newt's, but I still have a feeling that with these Blackjack reinforcements and the mine hits that came out, this should end up being a turned around Newt player. He's got his own Cyclops marching down. Ministry coming up online here shortly, and the third Fulcrum will also swing in pretty soon. But HitEmUp already has his third. Let's see. It can be a little bit on the brawlier side. Remember, there's been no more Vultures made on the side of HitEmUp, who's now switching into some Goliath production as the Blackjacks just try to sink their claws into the Cyclops. Proverbial claws. They don't have really any legitimate claws. And we will end up seeing those two Goliaths pop out here to add some stability, a backbone to the arsenal. Meanwhile, HitEmUp is going to be adding more fulcrums. He actually doesn't have enough money to make units out of the current ones, but he still wants to add more production. That's just how he is. Anchor coming online here for Newt, who maybe intuits that extra production has been assembled. Repairs coming online to fix up the blackjacks, get them back into fighting shape. When they are dark like that, they actually it's to signify that they've taken more than half HP in damage. And when that occurs, when they cross that 49% HP deficit, at that point is when they attack a lot slower and move a lot slower. So they just become worse units. Starpad coming online here for Newt. We're going to get to see the new model for that particular structure, courtesy of Delta Catamus. Big ups there, big ups there. We'll obviously keep tabs on that one. And, of course, the Palladium is on the way here for HitEmUp as he adds his 5th Fulcrum. Watchdog in the extremity, making sure to make things happen there. And as we see the Palladium kick off for Newt as well, it looks like we're going to have some parity here, except for the fact that the Starpad tech is here for, like, Anseals, maybe some Wraiths. We know that Newt likes his Wraiths, but hasn't actually been able to make use of them. You know, he really likes Wraiths, but he really thinks that I should buff them. Post up if you agree. So, as the Trojan starts to kick off here in production, it does signal what Newt wants to make with that. Will indeed be a bit of a transport. In the far corners of the map, we have the Vultures sort of poking around. You know, it just occurred to me that if Magnetron and Crisis Vector existed in the same map pool, we would have two installation, predominantly installation maps. You know what I mean? I don't know about that one. I don't know how that'll work. Some of those minefields are going to go ahead and reveal HitEmUp's army moving across the map. 4 Cyclops are going to be loaded up into that Trojan. That does kind of put Newt in a bit of an awkward position here, but he is making 4 Phalanx, and Tier 2 is just kicked off for HitEmUp. Remember his Watchdog over here towards the extremis of the base? He also has one inside the main mineral line, and one on the extremity of his natural. Watchdog Scout coming up for HitEmUp to see the Fulcrum count, and when he sees this many, he probably should know, oh, maybe I can do a thing or two here. He's got a couple of blackjacks. He's got a couple more over here that are... They're not stuck. They're just having a little dance party. Very funny there. Very funny. Cyclops, 3 more dispatched. It looks like they're going to try to hit at relatively similar times. Well, I say that. This one's already earmarked for that main base. But, oh, golly gee willikers. Don't tell me. Okay, well, 3 of them get unloaded still. So that's something. This is going to disrupt what HitEmUp has gotten, you know, set up for. And a couple of Masons are going down. Phalanxes are popping out, but their tank mode DPS isn't, you know, the best thing possible. And so a little bit of economic harassment has happened, but realistically speaking, the biggest consequence of that is that Newt scouts Tier 2 and a higher Fulcrum count than him. 3rd base on the way for HitEmUp, trying to keep his resources low. This Watchdog is actually going to be just out of range of sniping this Trojan. A couple of shots will go down, but as you can see, it's narrowly going to avoid. One more shot would have done the trick. Not a lot there as HitEmUp starts to pile away from his natural. And the, you know, unsieged phalanxes are going to be more than enough to deal with those, so no worries there. Wounded Blackjack could have maybe finished off the Trojan, but at this point we've got plenty of phalanx production come out from Newt, and he's adding more fulcrums where that came from, as well as his 3rd ministry, his own 3rd ministry. So, well, Matadors and Goliaths are having their good old time. I feel like right about now, HitEmUp probably wants to consolidate his army into one sort of blob, if you will, and see how he can defend. He has a couple of phalanx, but as of right now, not making too much. He was waiting for Tier 2 to complete, and now, Gorgons. That's my guess, anyway. Starports are on the way, and typically in TBT, that means Gorgons. If the other opponent doesn't make Valkyries, then they are going to be in a bit of a tough time. The Watchdog has been heckled here. One was built underneath it. HitEmUp is going to lose it. That's kind of like a more goofy way of like when a missile turret in Starcraft 1 is made underneath a Protoss observer. That's basically how that ends up feeling. Phalanxes are having a good time over here, parked up. I do feel like HitEmUp is going to be in a fine position. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he's actually going to try to take the aggress. Well, I don't know. This Blackjack coming up around there kind of reveals the full extent of the army and how deep the Phalanx line is. Wow. Phalanxes have nice range, don't you guys think? Oh, it died. Phalanxes have nice range, don't you guys think? New Anseal model, also courtesy of Delta Catamus, is out here trying its best to reveal things. We also have, of course, a 3rd base for both players. This is a mineral only. so they aren't going to really be able to do too much. Newt has a worker lead parity, or a worker count parity, as this attack comes in. Can hit him up, clear this position. He's got Matadors and Blackjacks galore, trying to absorb those shots as his own Phalanxes get there, and it doesn't look like Newt targeted them, so this right-hand side should actually be able to break through, especially with that self-stun onto that Phalanx. That's most of Newt's DPS that remained over here at that point, and many Phalanxes are indeed going to be able to stay alive here. Love that fadeaway Goliath shot onto the Ant Seal as well. An impressive clear. Honestly, I'm so happy to see HitEmUp playing again. I know he said that he plays one game and then he takes another bit of a break as he just gets occasionally tries to get his feel going. The Gorgons are going to come in and maybe sideswipe what Newt has, but the Goliaths are going to be in a sufficient number to kind of hold them at arm's length. We'll talk a little bit more about HitEmUp's prowess here later on, but he's sieging up his Phalanxes close to this high ground. Now doesn't really have any opportunity to see where his opponent is, having the rest of the ground units cleared. Fourth base on the way for him. Newt said that once in sort of just I think a throwaway comment that he fancies himself a macro player. Well, I'm going to love seeing him play in Acropolis, that's for sure. Phalanx is getting engaged on by the Vultures. The Goliath count is still pretty strong here. Blackjack's trying to help the Gorgons out, and they do, both of those units do deal considerable DPS, even to armored targets, so not a bad tactic here. It's just Gorgon Blackjack, and, you know, that's not necessarily a terrible idea, but I do wonder what else is coming in the pipe here for HitEmUp besides a fourth base. I guess Gorgon might be the next, Terran unit that needs to get remodeled, huh? All right, Vultures are going to end up getting dropped. The Phalanxes have to abandon ship. There's no anti-air here. Some Goliaths are in the neighborhood, but are they going to be able to stand up to all of these Gorgons? The answer is definitely no. Antseals were the only thing that were made by Newt's star pads here. He has not made any Valkyries, perhaps not realizing that HitEmUp and Aoud and a bunch of other Terrans like Top Ramen and Shopkeeper Dog had already figured out Valkyries are necessary to counter the Gorgon stack, much to Nablim's chagrin. He never did pay me for that, did he? Meanwhile, Newt has stretched out the expansions across the map. Another mineral-only base taken. This one has the gas that he really needs. And some Masons are going to be transferred, caught here, revealing the 9 o'clock base. Meanwhile, this one Vulture revealed this position, and some Masons need to be hopscotched over to that location. HitEmUp still has a worker lead, but the active mining is definitely in favor of Newt. He just... Neither player has a lot of Espion on this map, and that is kind of funny because they have both decided to expand directly towards mineral-only bases. It's kind of an automatic thing. They've decided, well, these are the closer bases, so I'm going to take those. 9 o'clock, a very crucial one to attempt to stamp out, but despite all of those Vulture mines placed by Newt, these Goliaths are not going to be able to completely clear everything out. They are buying a lot of time, however, as Newt rotates his ground army back over towards that 6 o'clock position, which is admittedly only a mineral-only base, but come on, man. This is still a really difficult position, because if you don't have that base, it's really hard to leapfrog into the gas bases in the far corner, which Newt is doing in the top left. Gorgons are being shellacked. A lot of them slowed down by lobotomy mines as the Blackjacks made physical contact with them, and whoa, just like that, I feel like Newt is swinging back into real big, driver's seat position here. Look at the fact that Newt has lots of Phalanxes in production and is capping some gas. On top of it, he's got a huge mineral bank that he can try to spend down at any time, but has he overextended into this position, into the Phalanx lines of HitEmUp? Feels like maybe the answer is yes, that all those Goliaths are going down. There's only one remaining. It's absolutely going to be wasted. Now, sure, the Ministry did die due to Phalanx shots, of course. You can unsiege, or, lift it off at any point. More Goliath reinforcements coming. I don't actually think that's enough to stop all of these Gorgons. This is a dozen Gorgons, man. You're not going to get through that with just 4 Goliaths. Sure, he's going to go ahead and deploy, try to wipe the deck of all of HitEmUp's Phalanxes, and that will actually be the case, but this is losing way more than he wants to. I love to see HitEmUp play TVT. It feels like he has really mastered the art of not just like what he's done with the Gorgons, but, and he would never say this. He would always just say, oh, I'm sitting here, making units and winning games. That's how I'm doing it, right? But I love when I see HitEmUp try to break siege lines in TVT. He always has exactly what he needs. It's kind of wild. Now, the Goliaths are coming out in bigger numbers, and the Gorgons, for now, have to fall away. But, make no mistake, they can and will overwhelm them again. 7 Goliaths being made. The Phalanx count reset so many times. Now we've got Blackjack sneaking up into the 12 o'clock position with 1 Gorgon escort. Gonna shut down this mineral, only not too consequential right now. It is a treasury after all. Can be reset at any point. and it's mostly consequential because the time is being bought. Newt's lost a big chunk of his army down here if HitEmUp chooses to pursue. He can reset the phalanx count. Now Newt only has Goliaths, and this is kind of like a massive Wraith switch almost in Brood War TVT, or Battlecruiser switch where you suddenly need a lot more Goliaths, but then all of the phalanxes go away. Maybe a little bit more analogous to when Protoss have the carrier switch out, you know what I mean? So some of these blackjacks are going to get bopped. Meanwhile, we have this base being set up and very well saturated. Again, Newt has actually capped his gases, hasn't he? At least his sieves are in, right? He actually doesn't have tier 2, I just realized. Wow. Impressive. Well, HitEmUp is resetting the 6 o'clock base, and looks like he's going to be heading to the bottom right. By the way, he held on to 9 o'clock, and he is mining from it. No gas caps, of course, but in fact, does he have any? Oh, he does have the sieve in his main base. Okay. Not all that the end of the world, then. I actually like the fact that Magnetron has this feature where it's 2 mineral-only bases. I really wonder what that's going to do to the world, particularly once you figure out that, like, the Wellbore is here and the sieve is here. However, that being said, HitEmUp is busy trying to take a pretty heavy engagement, but the Goliath count is so massive. Once the phalanxes get deployed, oh, there's only 2 of them. He's got so many blackjacks. Maybe he can just out-muscle him. Look at the Goliath count. This is outrageous. There's 22 of the things, and phalanxes and more Gorgons are here with the blackjack support. They're not able to just take everything down. There's no splash damage here and no ant seals for defense either. Not that it would stop HitEmUp from just right-clicking them. I think he's actually going to break this Goliath stack. Meanwhile, we've got vultures coming on in. Where are those offensive mines that Newt has started to use? He's really taken notes out of Shopkeeper Dog and Top Ramen, it feels like, in that respect. The DNA of multiple Terran players on him. Now, these phalanxes are going to be held at an arm's length. This ministry will need to be canceled, or more likely it'll just die. Newt is busy putting out fires elsewhere. Ends up intercepting a bunch of reinforcements. He's got some Cyclops out now, which actually I don't hate the idea of. Look at how low some of these Gorgons actually are. Those Cyclops spent so much power, punched way above their weight, and sniped at what must have been like 6 or 7 Gorgons. Still, there's reinforcements where that came from. We take a quick look at the base. There's still 4 starports thrumming, making non-stop. We got mantles coming online for some mech units HitEmUp wants to transfer into now that he's got another gas base that he can set up in the bottom right. Meanwhile, 3 o'clock being taken. If Newt can hold that, maybe he can have a chance back into it. Top left also being taken by our light olive Terran. Our underdog, if you will, even if he has been more active. Goliaths and ant seals galore. Now going to try to shield themselves. Let's see what they can make happen here. Some very, very important vulture mines from way back when have started to slow HitEmUp's advance, but is it going to be enough? Matadors get filtered in just to absorb so much pressure. The Gorgons have to dial back. The phalanxes out of range of each other, well, except for that one that just went down. But the Gorgons are finally going to be stopped, it feels like, stuffed by the Goliaths, or are they? There's still 3 more of them left, and not so many reinforcements, mech units just stomping around. He's got a big rally of Goliaths and the one Cyclops. Newt, you got to get your units into action here, but you have no way to break this phalanx line that HitEmUp has put together. Wyverns now being made as Gorgons are storing up towards the top left, an undefended position. Not even some watchdogs here to deal with those air units. Those Masons will be fodder, turned to stone. Goliaths in the middle of the map are going to slow this ground unit advance as some more walkers end up moving over to this ministry. At this point, you might consider just right-clicking the ministry itself because it is low, and you have Goliaths on top of it all. Reinforcements are being sent over to clean this up, though. I think HitEmUp should be able to hold on to that base, especially if he ends up repairing. A lot of Gorgon kills, you know, a lot of Mason deaths over there at that 11 o'clock base, but it will eventually be cleared nonetheless. And these phalanxes are still here, as ant seals and Goliaths are going to be the only things that currently we have action from Newt. He's going to try to set up his own phalanx line, see if he can't head him off at the pass, hoping that, you know, he just doesn't spot this 3 o'clock base. But as of right now, we've got, you know, the 2 mineral onlys and 4 gas bases for HitEmUp. And this one is likely to fall, as it is a little bit isolated. There's still this path that Newt can take to get out, but I'm not so sure it's going to be enough. He decides to commit to clearing out all these phalanxes, but he has no anti-air after all of that. That was what got splattered, either deliberate target selection, which we missed because we weren't looking at the fight at the time, or it was perhaps just incidents, as that ministry will be destroyed by the Gorgons, isolated and frozen. There's 1 Gorgon remaining with this stack and a whole lot of cataphracts coming online. Wyverns and Gorgons galore. Well, actually, they abandoned that ministry. It could perhaps escape, but it looks like 12 o'clock is going to be the next target. I would love a lift here so that Newt can save his Mason count. 122 workers, by the way. You'd think that's a big number, but HitEmUp has 160. He's just making units and winning games. Is he going to win this one? It feels likely. The Masons transferred, and that was a big mistake. That's a huge amount of his Vespene income that's going to go down the drain, especially as he lost 11 o'clock earlier. Now the Gorgons are going to finish that off. Oh, the Treasury off center. We've got 10 o'clock being taken there by HitEmUp as the top left corner is likely to fall next. And it just feels like it's too much. Look at him. Look at him just walk right past all the Phalanx. There's no supporting cast here for Newt. Phalanx line. They were too late to the party. The Ant-Seals will not be able to protect them, and I think this force is not going to be headed off, or at the very least it'll be cost efficient enough that you just can't stand to it. Looks like a big check over there. Not sure if HitEmUp had sent some units up. Maybe the Gorgons flew in at some point. But yeah, okay, the Phalanxes do riposte it. We've got depleted mains, depleted naturals, and of course the base count is dwindling here for Newt. Not only does he need to fight back very cost efficiently, he's still rallying Masons to their deaths. He needs to retake bases very, very quickly. A Pythian! A Durandal, 8 Vultures, a Cataphract, and 3 Ramses is on the way to the main base. That's why HitEmUp panned over to the top right. I always try to keep tabs on those kinds of camera movements because usually they mean something. Ramses slowing down the Vultures. Now they'll finally cycle through for HitEmUp as he is going to try to descend upon this Phalanx. We'll keep tabs on that drop as, oh, big stun, but it's only delaying the Durandals for a moment. Those are going to crash upon that. Oh, the Watchdog actually kind of zoning away the Pythian. When will HitEmUp look at it? I'm not so sure he's going to unload it, but surely when it comes under fire again, unfortunately those Durandals don't quite make the cut all the way over there. Goliaths have finished up. Is Newt going to be careful about that? It looks like maybe the answer is not yet. I feel like that drop could really sour Newt's position. Not that it's in a great spot anyway. It's being zoned away. HitEmUp still has the notice. The Phalanx count is dwindling for Newt at the front lines, and the Goliaths are not going to be able to step towards all of these Phalanx, it feels like. Certainly not cost efficiently. HitEmUp will unload at the 3 o'clock instead of where he initially planned to. The Wyverns have been heckling this position with the Treasury at 12, and it doesn't feel like Newt is going to be able to hold on. What a game so far. He's done really, really well in that department. He's even got a counterattack that's still working magic in the bottom right. A messy, messy game, but it feels like HitEmUp maintains a significant lead. Not just the fact that he's double the worker count. When Newt almost has 100, HitEmUp almost has 2. It just feels like this is a very, very rough position. These Goliaths getting a lot of action done, though. These are good moves, trying to heckle the workers here and there. And the Pythian, oh, it manages to try to get there for the unload, but it took so much damage that it will end up going down with only 2 Vultures unloaded. They almost kill the Watchdog. Almost. Bottom right just ignored right now by HitEmUp. He just wants to see what else he can find. He's maybe intuited, hey, new Talos model on Showcase, that perhaps top left is actually a base. Since he's shut down this 11 o'clock base, where else could he be? Gonna go after 12 o'clock more. Once more with feeling, as the Goliaths are going to have Durandal assistance, clearing out 3 o'clock more precipitously. The Phalanxes, they're doing their job. Actually, he ignores 12 o'clock, and he's going after this empty anchor over here, forcing these units that are coming out of the Fulcrum to defend instead of reinforce the front lines, but somehow Newt is still holding on. HitEmUp spends down his money. He's got a lot of Vultures being made. Now the Goliaths will cycle over to kill the Treasury once and for all. Some Masons on the front line as well. The one Goliath chasing over here to 10 o'clock. See how many HitEmUp Masons it can kill, but it's not happening, dude. You got 230 to 90 workers. What a carnage. What a calamity. Oh, man. Newt is not in a good spot at all right now. I think that has to be the death now. Losing your mineral-only base, how can you even force multiply from here? That base should surely be discovered at some point by HitEmUp in the top left. And with this Phalanx clear, I feel like that's the bulk of what Newt had to offer. The one Goliath being deconstructed by angry Masons. Goodbye. Worker uprising, and well, the Gorgons are really doing their best, but 3 o'clock, I guess it got reestablished during this time, but here comes the ocean of Vultures pouring on through. 3 Cataphracts being made each rotation. Bottom right will slowly be reset in terms of worker count. A big transfer coming over there as the mineral-only third bases have been depleted. I don't think I've ever seen a game of Cosmonarchy where that's happened. Maybe I have. Oh, that's definitely not true. I have seen that, but that's like few and far in between. You find situations where the third bases are mineral-only and they got taken and they get depleted. That's pretty wild stuff there. Let's check in on the fourth bases, I guess. Yeah, still a little ways to go. But with all these expendable armies that HitEmUp is throwing around, and Newt having way less eco and certainly still way less tech, right? We don't have tier 2 if after 25 minutes of play. No opportunity for Newt to fire back when it comes to the tech. He can't even really stabilize. Maybe now he can try to take 3 o'clock, retake this 11 o'clock base, but top left corner has been allowed to mine. That's been the saving grace for Newt this whole time, and it's just allowed him to stay alive. It hasn't allowed him to thrive. This almost 180-degree arc here that HitEmUp has formed is going to crush Newt's lines, and he just doesn't have enough units left over to reinforce a line like that. He didn't trade enough units. Oh my god, good grief, 9 kills on this phalanx, and they were all very recent. Yeah, he's got Vultures, Cyclops, he's got a big line over here, but he's not going to be able to deal with the next set of units that is sent his way across multiple lines. 8 Goliaths and a Talos. That's all he's got in the production tab. Finally, this mineral-only base should end up being cracked open unless something magical can happen with just a bunch of Cyclops and 1 Phalanx. The Vultures and the Ant Seal trying as well to hold on for dear life, but the Durandals head off the Phalanxes and Goliaths in the bottom right, and that means there's going to be no denial of the eco towards that area of the map. HitEmUp will continue to reign supreme. 250 workers. Newt gave it his good college try, but that should be game. No army rebuilds. Nothing that can stop this much stuff from HitEmUp in this local area. And you have all these Vultures and Phalanx ready to go, plus the next rally. GG. And that was a ranked game, ladies and gentlemen. Replay Kraken automatically upload that banger for me to cast. I love life and I love Cosmonarchy. Thank you, HitEmUp, for returning to us one more time, putting on what a banger on a StarCraft 2 map port. And thank you to Newt for participating. Very exciting match between these two players. I'll leave it to you to be the judge as to whether or not HitEmUp is back for Acropolis 4's Cup. Well, we'll have to find out next year, but until then, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for another upload in a little bit.